What's going on, everybody, and welcome back once again to the channel. And in today's video I'm going to be giving my post week 3 NFL power rankings. And without further ado, let's begin. So another wild week in the NFL, to say the least, and I'm gonna get in. So coming in at number 32, the worst team in the league, I have the Houston Texans, who are sitting at 0-2-1, just lost to the Chicago Bears. The Texans, it may take them a long time to get their first win of the season. Not much positivity there. Coming in at number 31, the only 0-3 team in the league, the Las Vegas Raiders, who very soon could find themselves sitting at 0-5 with a tough matchup with the Broncos and the Chiefs coming up. Coming in at number 30, I have the Seahawks, who lost now to the Falcons, and if you can't come back and beat the Falcons at home, you're not going to beat anybody. Coming in at number 29, I have the Commanders, who just got dominated by the Eagles at home. The Carson Wentz revenge game did not go as planned. Coming in at number 28, I have the Falcons, who just got their first win of the season, got to 1-2, team with a lot of talent, but I don't think they're going to go anywhere this season. Coming in at number 27, I have the Jets, who just got dominated by the Bengals. I did not think they would be dominated. I picked the Bengals to win, but I did not think it'd be like that. Definitely a disappointing loss for the Jets, since they could not build off of that come from behind win against the Browns. Coming in at number 26, one of the most shocking teams this season, the Saints. I thought this team would be very good this year with all the weapons they've added, and I thought Jameis would be better, but he has not been. And I think if this continues, there may be controversy to bring in Andy Dalton. Coming in at number 25, the team that just beat him, the Panthers. I'm pretty impressed with how the Panthers defense played in that game, but their offense continued to struggle for the most part. Coming in at number 24, I have the Lions, who at this point I just think like to lose games. Coming in at number 23, I have the Bengals, who got a big game coming up in a couple of days against the Miami Dolphins. If they can win that game, they'll be at 2-2, and they would be on the right track. But I just don't think that this win over the Jets is anything to get excited about, and it's surprising how limited Jamar Chase has been over the last couple of weeks. Coming in at number 22, I have the Steelers, who lost on Thursday. It's time for Kenny Pickett, man. They need a spark. It's a talented team. They need a spark, and they need to do it soon. The only thing is they have some very tough games coming up on the schedule. Coming in at number 21, the Patriots. Mac Jones is going to miss the next couple of weeks. Yeah, I think this team is on the brink of a complete collapse, which is unfortunate because I think this team had some potential and could have been better if things would have been managed better. Coming in at number 20, I have the Titans, who beat the Raiders. The Titans, I think, there was some whispers about Tannehill's job security. I don't know if bringing in Malik Willis would be the best idea for Malik Willis in particular, throwing him into the fire like that. But I do think the Titans do need a change at quarterback in the foreseeable future. But they got the win this week. Coming in at number 19, I have the Cardinals, who, gave a tough game to the Los Angeles Rams. They've just had a very, very tough schedule to start the year. The Chiefs, then at the Raiders, and then now the Rams. Not easy games, obviously. See how they fare once they're playing a little bit, teams that are weaker. Coming in at number 18, the 49ers, which their Sunday night showing was just a complete shit show. Jimmy Garoppolo, played the worst I've ever seen him play, but I will say this, and this is a legitimate excuse for that performance. I don't think it's time to completely, give up if you're a Niner fan, because sure, you're 1-2, but if they win next week, all of a sudden they're in first place in their division, regardless of what the Cardinals and Seahawks do, because they're playing the Rams. So just like that, they can be in first place. And I think, Jimmy Garoppolo's performance, you got to also consider this is a guy who did not practice at all with the team throughout the entire offseason. They literally made him practice by himself because they thought he wouldn't be on the team anymore, so they didn't want him to know the playbook. Then he didn't play at all in the preseason. So in a sense, this was really his first preseason game in a way. So, it's gonna be sloppiness, and it's not like the Broncos have a bad defense. So I think that the 49ers and Garoppolo will clean it up within the next couple of weeks. I don't think this is something that is to come. Coming in at number 17, I have the Bears. I mean, you got to hand it to them. They beat the Niners, and they have a better record than them, so I'm leaving them ahead. But this is a very flimsy number 17. I don't think the Bears are really all that. Coming in at number 16, I have the Giants, who lost last night to the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. Their defense kept them in that game, but overall their offense, they stalled in a couple of drives. They had an opportunity to tie the game late. Daniel Jones did not play all that bad. A couple of drop passes. Kenny Galladay really does not fit into this offense. I think he's a sneaky trade candidate before the trade deadline because he is just not fit with the Giants since they signed him. Coming in at number 15, I have the Chargers, who just got blown out at home to the Jaguars, 38-10. And not only that, but Rashawn Slater, their star left tackle, is out for the year. And Joey Bosa could miss some time too. And Justin Herbert continues to nurse the rib injury. So they got some issues, the Chargers, a team that was very promising after week one, suddenly is really headed down a bad path. Coming in at number 14, I have the Colts, who they beat my Kansas City Chiefs. The Colts, were a team that really shocked me after the first 2 weeks because I thought this was a dark horse Super Bowl contender. And, they really looked bad. But, beating the Chiefs, I don't know how much of that win was really the Colts being good, more so than the Chiefs just beating themselves. If you saw the game and you saw what happened, I mean, the Colts didn't play a very efficient game either. So I don't know, but all of a sudden the Colts are 1-1-1, only half a game back from first place. Really, essentially a full game because they're half a game behind the Jaguars, and the Jaguars beat them. Coming in at number 13, I have the Jaguars. Who would have thought the Jaguars coming in this high, number 13? We'll see if they can keep it up. They got a big game next week against the Eagles. But the Jaguars are sitting at 2-1 with a winning record. Their defense has looked very, very good over the last couple of weeks, and the offense at least has looked efficient. So it's pretty impressive what they've done. They've beaten two good teams. The Chargers and the Colts are better and as good as I thought they would be. So we will see how this continues with the Jaguars. Right now, they're first place in the AFC South. Coming in at number 12, I have the Broncos, which, have won their last 2 games, but, can you really count those as wins? Their offense this season is averaging only 14 points a game, and that's including a safety that the defense got. This offense cannot seem to move the ball, and you can say, well, they were playing the 49ers defense. I don't think that's an excuse to only score 9 offensive points, but they didn't play well against the Texans, and they didn't play well against the Seahawks. So I think there's some legitimate reason for concern there, but I will say this. I think Russell Wilson is a very good quarterback, and I think that, he's working with some young receivers here, a new head coach. It's like what I said before the beginning of the season. I felt like people were too quick to jump on the Broncos train. This team is going to need some time. It's a first-year head coach. It's a new quarterback, a lot of young players. I think this team will get better as the year goes on. I don't think this is their peak year in the Russell Wilson era. I think that we will not see that this year. Coming in at number 11, I have the Browns, who are sitting at 2-1 and have some very winnable games up ahead. They could easily find themselves at 4-1, 5-1, which would be pretty surprising, all things considered. They beat the Steelers. Their defense has looked pretty good, except for the fourth quarter of that Jets game. Coming in at number 10, a team that everyone, including myself, was ready to kind of give up on after week 1, the Cowboys. The Cowboys, after that week 1 game, looked really bad. I said that, they had some injuries, they needed some people to come back, but, they've won 2 big games now. They beat the Bengals, and now they beat the Giants on Monday Night Football. Both of them were nice wins that were very much needed. So I don't think they'll be able to keep up with the Eagles, but they could stay relevant throughout this season. Coming in at number 9, I have the Buccaneers, who their offense continues to look dead. Tom Brady was able to engineer a good drive there towards the end of the game, on the final drive of the game, but they were not able to get the 2-point conversion after a delay of game penalty that set them back to the 7-yard line. The Bucs offense has issues, but I will say this: Mike Evans did not play. That's their number 1 receiver. Chris Godwin did not play. That's their number 2 receiver. Julio Jones did not play. That's their number 3 receiver. I think when those guys come back, I think it's going to be back to the same old Bucs offense we've seen. I mean, right now, Tom Brady was working with Cole Beasley, Russell Gage, and Scotty Miller as his 3 receivers, which those 3 guys, when they had them, looked very good to have as, depth pieces, but not as your starting 3. Coming in at number 7, at number 8, I have the Packers, who just beat the Bucs. The Packers offense really got slowed down that second half, but that's a theme whenever the Packers play that Bucs defense. I'm very impressed with the Packers defense, even though what I mentioned about the Bucs offense. The Packers defense has played pretty well through 3 weeks. Even against the Vikings, I don't think they got enough credit for even keeping that game from completely blowing up. The Packers receiving core is not good, though. Christian Watson was injured. Sammy Watkins was injured. So you can give them that benefit, but still, their receiving core does not look good. And the running game struggled, but they were playing probably the best run defense in the NFL. Coming in at number 7, I have the Vikings, who got a win over the Lions, a come from behind win in the fourth quarter, down 10. The Vikings are a very up and down team. I think this is one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. The question is, can Kirk Cousins and Kevin O'Connell stay consistent enough to keep this team with the top dogs in their conference? Coming in at number 6, I have the Ravens, who bounced back from a rough meltdown loss, and they beat the Patriots to get to 2-1. Lamar Jackson is playing like his MVP self from 2019 now, and possibly even better, but we'll see if he can keep it going. I think he will. Coming in at number 5, I have the defending Super Bowl champion Rams, who got a big win, a much needed win over the Arizona Cardinals to get to 2-1. Cooper Kupp looked good. Their defense played pretty solid. So, the running game actually looked pretty good, which is a great sign. They definitely needed they need that running game to come to life if they want to have another shot in the Super Bowl. But right now, they're sitting at first place in the NFC West. Coming in at number 4, I have the Buffalo Bills, who had a rough loss to the Miami Dolphins. I will say this, though, to the Bills. To the Bills' point, they had a lot of injuries in that game. They had 5 starters out on defense, and to add to it, it was in Miami playing in 100-degree weather, and they still almost pulled it out. But at the end of the day, a loss is a loss, and the Dolphins just outlasted them. Really, is the truth of the matter. The Dolphins were the better conditioned team and held on to the win. And even and Josh Allen, he had an opportunity to win it, and he underthrew that ball. I'm talking about the second to last drive the Bills had. They were at the goal line, and Allen threw the ball into the dirt when he had a guy open for a touchdown. Overall, the Bills can't complain about how their defense played. It was really their offense that really could not get it going, especially in that second half. Coming in at number 3, I got my Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm not very concerned about this loss to the Colts. It's an annoying loss as a Chiefs fan. It's stupid. It's a game you should win, especially when you have all these tougher games coming. But it's like at the same time, the Chiefs are better than the Colts. They're better than almost every team they play, if not every team they play. So I think it's just one of those games that you lose. The concerning thing is that it feels like they haven't cleaned up their issues from last year's AFC Championship meltdown, because it felt, in a sense, kind of similar. And another thing to keep an eye on is Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes. They do not seem to be on the same page. An argument seemed apparent at halftime during the game. Both sides, played it back after, but something to monitor. And there was a bombshell of a report earlier in the offseason about the disagreements between Mahomes and Bieniemy in the AFC Championship game. So, you know, very interesting stuff there. May explain why Eric Bieniemy has not gotten a head coaching job yet if he has trouble with his star quarterback. Coming in at number 2, I have the Philadelphia Eagles, who arguably could be number 1, and I have no problem with putting them at number 1, but I do not have them at number 1, and I'll get to that once I get to number 1. But the Eagles, they look very good. This is one of the quickest rebuilds I've ever seen for a franchise. I mean, entering last season, I think a lot of people thought they were just going to be a 3-4 win team, and last year they won 9 games, and this year they've, improved even more so. I mean, it's still very early in the year, but this team is a team that's built for playoff football because of how physical they are up front on both sides of the ball. And Jalen Hurts is like a surgeon out there tearing apart defenses. And, we had not heard much about Devontae Smith throughout the first 2 games, but he showed up and had a huge game against the Washington Commanders. And if Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown both get going, good luck guarding that. Eagles, one of the top teams. Coming in at number 1, I got the Miami Dolphins. And the reason I edged them over the Eagles is I just think that they're the slightly better team. I'm not saying they are, but they're the slightly better team. And they've played some tougher teams. They had to play the Patriots, the Ravens, and the Bills. Eagles have had to play the Lions, Commanders, and Vikings. So the Dolphins have had some more impressive wins. So there is that. But, both of these teams are looking very good. They're the only 2 teams that have not lost yet. But it's like I said, it's still early in the year. Things are going to change a lot. But right now, Dolphins are my number 1 ranked team. Comment down below what you guys think about all this. And other than that, I'll see you guys next time.